Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa and I'm the owner of seasonandserveblog.com. I'm very excited for today's video because spring is just around the corner and that means we can start growing our seeds. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I plant up all of my flower seeds for 2022. I'll be walking you through the entire process of starting my seeds from start to finish, and I'll be going over all the different tools that I use to start my seeds right here at home. And I think we have a little helper here today. Pearl is looking out the window. I wonder if she'll help me start some seeds. I don't know, but she seems a little preoccupied. So if you want to see how I start my flower seeds, just keep on watching. So when you're starting seeds from home, first off, you obviously need some seeds. And the majority of my seeds here are from West Coast Seeds, which is a local seed company here in British Columbia, Canada. And I do have a couple in here, I think, from Vessie's and from another farm called Stems Flower Farm, which is out of Ontario. So when I'm planting the seeds, I'm not going to go too in depth about all the different types and varieties of flowers that I'm going to be growing. But if you do want to find out, you can watch my flower seed haul video for 2022. And that's where I go in depth and talk about all of these amazing flower seeds that I'm going to be growing this year in my garden. So first off, you have your seeds, very important. Now, second of all, you need something to label your seeds with so that you don't forget what they are when you plant them all in your seed starting trays. So I like to use popsicle sticks. These are super inexpensive. They biodegrade over time and they're really great. I really like using these. I've used them for quite a few years now and I find that they work perfectly. And instead of like a fancy garden marker, I just mark them up with a Sharpie. I find that maybe by the end of the season, it is a little bit difficult to read the label, but just for initial seed starting, I think it's really great and perfectly fine to use. So that is really simple and fairly inexpensive as a labeling system. And next up, you'll need a seed starting tray, and I'm using this one. It is the Plant Best Greenhouse Kit from Lee Valley, and I'll show you what it looks like here. I'll take off the label, but it has 72 cells in total, and that's a lot of plants. So this is what it looks like. It has two large square trays, just like this, and as you can see when I hold it up to the light, there are some holes in the bottom of it. And I think this is really great for starting seeds because sometimes seeds don't like to be watered overhead like with a watering can. It is really better for them to soak up water from their roots or through the soil. This tray also comes with a dome lid, which is really great for seed starting because you can cover it and keep it nice and warm, keep the humidity in, and your plants will grow. So very exciting to have the dome there. And also this kit was super cool because it came with these little dehydrated soil pods. And I'll open up the pack and I'll show you what one looks like. This is how they come. They are super tiny, but what you do is you pop one of these in each of the cells, and then you take your watering can and water them in, and these rehydrate and kind of puff up and create like instant soil. Super cool, and yeah, really fun to watch. So I can't wait to show you guys how the soil pods rehydrate. And of course, if you're interested in these trays, I forgot to say I will link these down below, but very, very nice seed starting trays. I'm really impressed with these. So additionally, we're gonna use a few other items. So I have my watering can here filled with water. That's obviously very important for watering your seeds in and rehydrating these seed pods. And I also want to show you guys, if you don't have these little seed pods, how to start seeds just with the regular method of using seed starting mix and individual pots. So I do have some seed starting mix here that I picked up at Garden Works. It is very important that the bag does say seed starting mix on it because it is a bit of a loftier blend that allows the plant's roots to grow really easily through the soil. It is different than potting soil, so make sure you pick up the seed starting mix. I do have a big metal bucket to mix the soil and some water in for doing it the traditional way. And I have a garden trowel for scooping the soil into individual pots. And I also have a pair of gardening gloves because the traditional method is a little bit messy, but it is super fun. So this will prevent my hands from getting a little bit too dirty. That is it. I think we should get to seed starting now. And first off, actually, before we can sow our seeds, we have to rehydrate these soil pods. So let's do that first. So this is what the dehydrated soil pods look like up close. They're super tiny, but once you add water, they expand like crazy. So I'm gonna add one into the bottom of each single cell, and then I'm gonna top it up with some water. So when I added the water to the trays, I noticed that these began to float, and if some of them turned onto their side, they actually got really stuck in the tray and didn't expand properly. So if you're using this kit, make sure that the soil pods stay straight up and down. And this time lapse of the soil pods expanding is super cool, and they look pretty funny at the end. After they've expanded and absorbed all the water, you will have to break them up a little bit, so I just use the end of a popsicle stick. And of course, throughout this entire process, Pearl had to know exactly what was going on, so she decided to pretend that she's a plant, and she sat right in the middle of our metal bucket. Super cute. So after I broke up the soil with a popsicle stick, I decided to make my labels. So I'm taking my popsicle sticks and my Sharpie marker, and I'm just simply writing the name of each variety of flower that I'll be growing on each of the popsicle sticks. And now let's get to planting. So I'm starting with my cosmos, and I am using the popsicle stick to make a small hole about 1/4 inch deep into each of the little seed starting cells. And I'm going to pour out the cosmos seeds just so that you guys know what they look like. They're super cool and they're fairly large. So I'm going to drop 1 to 2 cosmos seeds into each of these cells, and if more than one pops up in one of the cells, I can just take the stronger plant out and sacrifice the other one. And once you have your seeds in, I'm just using the little popsicle stick to gently cover and press down the soil very lightly, just to make sure everything is covered and solid. And then we're just going to continue the process for the rest of my seeds. So I'm a huge fan of cosmos, and ever since I moved into our home, I've been growing cosmos in our garden every year. And for me, that is a garden staple. And I want to know from you guys, what is the flower that you always have to grow in your garden or on your patio or balcony at home? So let me know in the comments box below. And then once I have all of the seeds planted and labeled, I'm just going to set the dome lid on top, and then I'll place it in a sunny spot or under some grow lights. And I don't typically water the flower seeds right after this, just because the soil is still really saturated with water. So I'll wait a couple days and then I'll water the seeds from below. So if you don't have one of those seed growing kits, I'm going to show you the traditional way of growing seeds using seed starting soil. And with the seed starting soil, I'm going to be growing some microgreens today. So all I'm doing is adding the seed starting mix to the metal bin, and then I'm going to put on my gardening gloves and add in some water. So I'm just starting with a little bit of water at first, and then I'm going to mix it up. Now the soil wasn't as hydrated as I needed it to be, so I added just a little bit more water and then mix it up again. And overall, you are looking for a soil that is really hydrated, but when you squeeze the soil between your hands, water doesn't end up spilling out. It stays nice and firm and compact. And since the soil is hydrated, it makes it really easy to fill up the pots. To grow my microgreens, I am going to use these beautiful terracotta pots, and all I'm doing is just using my trowel to fill up the pots with the soil. Once the soil is at a good height, you just want to tamp the soil down a little bit with your hands, but making sure not to compress the soil too much because you do want the roots to grow. So for my microgreens, I am using 2 varieties. First is sunflower microgreen seeds, and I'm just going to sprinkle these into a fairly thick layer onto the surface of the soil, and I'll gently use my finger to press them down a little bit into the soil so that they don't move around. And the second seed that I'm growing is pea microgreens, and again, I'm going to add these into an even layer across the top of the soil and gently press them in. And I'm just going to add a little bit more soil on top to cover them, and I'm just going to add enough soil to cover them by 1/4 of an inch. So they're not too deep in the soil, but they are still nice and well uncovered. Then I'm simply just going to tamp them down a little bit more with my hand just to get the soil even, and I'm going to give them a nice little bit of water with my watering can. Then I'll simply just add the labels to each of the pots, and then we'll set these in a sunny window to grow. And then in just a few days, we had our cosmos seeds begin to grow, and some other seed varieties have also started to popping up out of the soil as well. And that is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed watching me plant my flower seeds for 2022. If you enjoyed the video and want to follow along to see how these beautiful seeds turn into flowers over my gardening season, make sure that you hit the red subscribe button down below for future gardening videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.